Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting on Monday, October 21st. We'll call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda actually is our invocation. Is there anybody here from the EAM? If not, I know Mr. Odom is here. Jerry, would you mind? And then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our God and our Father in heaven, we come before you this evening, Father. Father, we're thankful for this evening and the blessing that bless us through this day, Father. Father, we're thankful that we have this opportunity to come together as a meeting with the city government. We'd ask you, Father, to bless the city government and the decisions that they make, give them, Father, the wisdom and the knowledge that they need to make the decisions that will benefit the citizens of our city. We'd ask you, Father, be with them tonight as we go through this service. Be with each one, Father, as we listen and as we learn about what's going on in our city. We pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. Thank you, Donna.
Welcome.
All right, next item is roll call. Please let the roll show everyone is here.
Mayor McFarland, regarding our minutes tonight, I move approval for the City Council regular meeting minutes from August, and accept for the record the Board of Adjustment minutes from March 12th, Police Advisory Board minutes from April 11th, Park and Rec Advisory Board minutes from September 5th, and the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes from September 5th as presented.
Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the past minutes are approved. Claims against the city, which is item D1.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the claims against the city dated October 2nd through the 15th as presented.
All
Second.
right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the claims of October 2nd through October 15. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, claims are approved. Meeting agenda. Any changes? Anyone have anything you want to move, change? Larry, any changes from staff?
Mr. Mayor, we do not have any changes, but just a reminder to the mayor and council that we do have an executive session that is agendized this evening that is linked to item I-1. So if the council has a need after the presentation to go into executive session, that is available.
Okay, so in that case, if we do decide to go into exec session, then I would suggest we move the reports. Can I do that?
Yeah, if we don't go into executive session, you don't need to move the reports.
We'll leave them alone. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Then I'll take the meeting agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the meeting agenda as proposed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Agenda is approved. No special presentations tonight. Consent agenda item. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion, one roll call vote of the council. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Does anyone have anything you want to remove from the consent agenda item?
No.
Anyone from the audience? Okay, seeing none, then I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Can I get a roll call vote? Sorry, I didn't need a motion in a second. Can I get a roll call vote on the consent agenda items, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, consent agenda items are approved. The next item on our agenda is public comments. So at this point in time in the meeting, I will open the floor. If there is someone in the audience who would like to address the council, please approach the podium. I would remind those who are interested to please keep your comments to 3 minutes, and remember that the item you're discussing is not on our agenda, so we can't really discuss it. Certainly can ask, if it's necessary, we'll ask staff to research and get back with you. But please state your name and your address, please.
All right. Hi, my name is Neno Kuaku, and like my full address, all right, 1578 East Silver Reef Drive, Casa Grande, Arizona, 85122.
Very good. Welcome.
So, hi, again, my name is Neno Kuaku. I am part of the Casa Grande Youth Commission, and I hold the office of Public Relations. So this year, a lot of people confuse what public relations, like the meaning of public relations, and I too am part of that. For a second, I really thought that it meant a person that just, takes care of social media. But this year, the Casa Grande Youth Commission really wants to expand and emphasize what the meaning of public relations is. And it's basically building relationships with people in the community and different organizations, and specific organizations like the City Council. I believe, and I am a firm believer, that in order for the Casa Grande Youth Commission to be really effective, is to maintain and build a strong relationship with the City Council. So this year, it is our goal to try and meet with you guys once a month, so you're going to be hearing from us a lot more, which I think is really exciting. But some events that I really want to inform you guys on is that on October 31st, we're going to be hosting a Halloween dance at the new rec center on Pert. It starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 10 p.m. So if any teenagers that you know or middle schoolers that you know are interested in that, please let them know. And also on November 2nd, we'll be hosting our Fall Day of Shredding at the First American Credit Union on Pinal. It starts at 9 a.m. So if you guys are interested, please come. We will be accepting donations. Want to put that out there. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to me. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
We can't come to the dance.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else in the audience like to speak? Okay, we'll see none, then I'll close the floor and we'll proceed with tonight's meeting. The next item is our item I, it's award of contracts. So I-1, approving a lease agreement between the City of Casa Grande and the Casa Grande Roller Derby people, which I see here in the audience. Kelly Brown and your other board members, wave your hand. There you go. All right.
John raised his hand.
You guys didn't know you had a new recruit for your roller derby girls. Yeah. Okay. Larry?
Mr. Mayor, I'll be taking this presentation tonight. Staff is recommending the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a lease agreement between the city of Casa Grande and the Casa Grande Roller Derby. The property that is discussed in this lease agreement is the gymnasium that's just west of this building, and that was the home of the Boys and Girls Club for the last 20 years. As you may recall, this facility was slated to be closed and all utilities shut off when the Recreation Center opened on May 6th. We have done that since then. Several other buildings were also closed or leased in order to create financial capacity to facility cost at the Recreation Center. These include the Peart Center, the Women's Club, the old Parks and Recreation building, and the Teen Center, which we had a lease out there and that's been discontinued. Staff has been working with the Roller Derby Club over the last several months to discuss their use of the gymnasium. They have plans to use this facility for regular practices, scrimmages, small community events, and other skating programming. The roller derby programming will offer a quality option to the community rather than just shuttering this building. A copy of the lease agreement has been attached to the RCA tonight. The lease agreement is the city's standard form, with the exception that the Casa Grande Roller Derby accepts the building in an as-is condition and will be required to cover all maintenance, repairs, and utilities. As landlord, the city would have no responsibility to maintain the building, and if the building is no longer suitable for use by the tenant, then the lease would terminate. The term of this agreement is 1 year with an option to extend on an annual basis. As you mentioned, Kelly Brown with the Casa Grande Roller Derby is here to answer any specific questions that may pertain to their operation. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Bob?
Has there been an inspection? Have they taken a look at the building, and do they have an idea of what condition it's in and what may or may not need to be done?
Yes, we've toured the building several times, toured it with the building official and with the fire department also. Upon approval, we will have the electricity turned back on so that we can do some further inspections and adjustments to the building so that it can be operated in a safe manner.
Okay.
Matt?
Yeah, this was a neat idea, and I had some concern at the beginning because a gentleman in town, Peter Redwine's trying to open a roller skating rink. I'm like, man, this guy's investing a lot of money in this. I talked to him, and he said he's been working with this group, and he's excited for them, excited for himself, so that alleviated all my concerns. I'm glad someone can use the building for the time being, so that was the only concern I had, but it worked out great.
We'll just go down.
Well, I just wanted to mention a couple things is that, with the roller derby, they are, they have a board. They're very involved with the community already. They provide services to the homeless population, and they do a number of things routinely anyway. So I think this is a great use of the building and a great tenant to have. So I'm really in favor of this.
Mary?
Yeah, I was going to say too, as I've been very impressed from day one with the organizational efforts that have been made and I'm excited that you found a home that you can practice in and hold your events in, and so I'm really excited for you.
Lisa?
And I agree. I do see you guys out in towns, a lot, and so I really appreciate everything you're doing in the community and some of the service outside of your hobby. I guess it's not a hobby, it's sport. It's a sport, right? It's a sport. So sorry about that. I know I don't roller skate very well, but I hope you understand where we are in the building. When we opened the recreation center, we counted on closing the building down and not having those utility costs and everything else. So and then we knew the building wasn't going to be there for something major long-term without repairs. So, but I do think this was a great idea when it came to us until we determined what we're going to do. So, but I do hope that it's in a condition that is suitable for you all, and we work together to make sure that it's safe and everything is communicated with initially. So, but yeah, no, I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Powell?
Could everybody stand that's in the group? That's impressive. I just wondered if it would be all right if our mayor and Steve roller skated around the first time.
As long as you give me lots of pads.
I think it's a wonderful use of the building. The building's freestanding. It's there, and I think you guys will have a ball using it, and we really look forward to watching that.
Yep.
Remember the opening now, these two.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, one thing I failed to mention is that the Casa Grande Roller Derby is a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yeah, I saw that in the,
Yep.
yeah.
I think we knew that.
They've done a good job.
All right, well, good. I don't see any other comments, so I'll consider an ordinance number.
Ordinance number 3158, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving the lease agreement between the City of Casa Grande and Casa Grande Roller Derby and authorizing the execution of the agreement by the city manager.
Mayor McFarland,
Go ahead.
I move to approve ordinance number 3158 as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Quartzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Definitely.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. So congratulations. All right, move to I-2, which is ordinance number 3162. And this is Public Works. Kevin, is that you?
Yes, thank you. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Arizona Western Contracting for a base bid amount of $137,512 with a contingency of $14,309. The total is $151,821. This is for sidewalks and ADA ramps construction on South Marshall Street on the west. Let me start over with that. The project, the work area is bounded by South Marshall Street on the west, South Picacho Street on the east, East Ash Avenue on the south, and East First Avenue on the north. The work includes nine curb ramps, 870 square feet of new sidewalk at driveway crossings, 966 square feet of new valley gutter, and apron area, 5,460 square feet of new sidewalk, and 98 square yards of pavement associated with the project. This project is funded with CDBG funds for $121,821, and then we're using $30,000, which is transferred over from the leftovers of the Rancho Grande project. Council approved this project as part of the CDBG 5-year consolidated plan and action plan. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I just want to say how happy I am, Kevin, that we're stepping south of the tracks, and I know that I just got it from John, so I know it's true, that early in the spring, we're going to have some paving done on the roads over there. That's wonderful. That's really something for them to look forward to.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no other comments or questions, I'll consider an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 3162, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing a contract with Arizona Western Contracting Company, Inc. to provide the construction of the 2018 CDBG Sidewalk Improvement Project, authorizing expenditure of public funds in amount not to exceed $151,821, and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3162 as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbon.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, item I3, considering ordinance number 3163. Kevin?
Thank you. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council approve the expenditure of funds for our purchase of our Polyflex 3 crack seal material from Craftco Inc. of Chandler, Arizona, in an amount not to exceed $100,000. This is our annual purchase of our crack seal material, and we're requesting authorization to use a City of Tempe contract number T16-021-01. Each year we purchase this material as part of our pavement maintenance program. We are currently programming $1.8 million for our maintenance program. 100,000 of that is for our crack seal material, and 200,000 of that is for our city striping. And so this is our annual program. The crack sealing is the maintenance activity that takes place before we go in and do our resurfacing. And these are our maintenance projects that are not capital improvement projects. We're currently just wrapping up the programming of our maintenance program, and we'll be scheduling an open house for the community to come out and communicate with us about our this year's program. And then once we've gathered that input, then we'll have a study session with council to outline our program for this year, and then the construction of that program will be next spring. But the crack seal will start probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, no questions, no comments? Then Gloria, I'll entertain an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 31 3164, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Craftco Inc. for the purchase of Polyflex 3 crack sealing material, authorizing the expenditure of public funds in an amount not to exceed $100,000, and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Craftco Inc.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3163 is presented.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, item I4, so considering ordinance number 3164. And Kevin, it's you.
Thanks. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract, a cooperative use agreement with B&F Contracting, Inc. to utilize cooperative purchasing available through a City of Peoria job order contract for wet utility projects currently awarded to that firm. The scope of this agreement would be a base amount of $330,335 with a contingency of $5,000 for a total amount not to exceed $335,335. The intent of this project is to construct an 18-inch sewer line to connect the existing Central Arizona Commerce Park sewer collection system to the Burris sewer line. That system is currently served by a Volt, so we basically collect all the material in a Volt and then we pump it and take it to the wastewater plant. The reason it wasn't connected to the Burris line, well, there are a number of reasons, and I won't get into them, but it was just a timing issue, and now the time is where we need to get this thing hooked up. And we're very excited to partner with B&F Contracting on this project because they are actually subcontracting the entire project out to one of our local contractors, Allison Mills. So they'll be performing the work. And we're excited about that because they're able to perform the work during the irrigation district's dry-up season, and that helps us not have to expend additional funds for additional jack and bore for the project. We're able to open cut it. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Will this also accommodate Lucid?
No, this will have nothing to do with Lucid. Their line enters the Commerce Park but crosses further south from this location.
Okay, so this is just for the CAZCP? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, Matt?
Yeah, just some information. I called Ellison Mills wondering why they didn't do it, and it has to do with the legal thing of the JOC, how this is bid, and B&F has that contract. So we're paying them to facilitate this, but Ellison Mills is doing all the work, a local contractor who supports a lot of our local stuff. So they were happy, and they're like, well, we're going to try to do that JOC so we can do it all for you guys. So great.
Bob?
Kevin, when we piggyback on to an existing contract, you said doing this, I don't want to go into too much detail, but what are the elements of that contract? Is it like a per foot or something of sewer line, or?
So they use several different ways to pricing. It's typically a unit, a per unit cost associated with the different materials, and then the materials are outlined in a schedule of costs. And as long as their bids follow those schedules, we're able to use those as bid prices.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mary?
Just always want to say that we celebrated when we did the 36-inch pipe on Burris. It's just going to be another addition for future development that we have. You have that infrastructure. We have several companies that have been here for quite a while, and that was because we had the Burris road alignment and the sewer there, and this can only help us as far as future development in that.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, seeing none, then I'll entertain ordinance number 3164, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 3164, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the bid from B&F Contracting, Inc. for the construction of a sewer line to connect the Central Arizona Commerce Park to the city's existing borough sewer line, authorizing expenditure of public funds in an amount not to exceed $335,335, and authorizing the execution of a contract with or purchase order to B&F Contracting, Inc.
Mayor McFarland, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 3164 as presented.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, next item is I-5, consider ordinance number 3166. Back to you, Kevin.
Thanks. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council approve a contract with West Tech in the amount of $170,837 plus a 20% contingency, $34,168, for additional spending authority for a total not to exceed $205,005 for the purchase of technical services of 2 Flender OxyStream aerator gearboxes to be installed at the wastewater reclamation facility. Our plant consists of 4 what we call speedway ditches. They're large aeration ditches, and these are the vessels that we introduce our microbiotic environment out there. And this is the digestion of the waste. These bugs basically digest the waste. And at the end of each of these aeration ditches, there are these large mixers. They're about the size of this room right here, so nothing small. 2 of these gearboxes need to be replaced, and we are doing this as a sole source purchase because the last thing we want to do is go in and re-engineer this equipment. We want to put back what is there, and obviously there's a huge cost savings to be able to do that. So we are moving forward with this as a sole source purchase with West Tech. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Powell?
Just a question, the aerate help diminish the fragrance?
Yeah.
You can come on out and you can let me know. It doesn't add to it, let me put it that way.
Okay.
I have a question, Mayor.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Lisa.
So you're replacing 2 of them. The remaining 6, were all of them purchased at the same time? And do we have a replacement program in place for the remainder 6?
So we currently don't have a replacement program. We don't foresee any major issues. When the original 3 ditches were there, all the motors are still there. These are 2 of those motors that are being replaced. As part of the last expansion, only 1 additional aeration ditch was added. Those 2 motors are still virtually brand new and no need to replace those. I wish I could say we had a replacement program for everything at the wastewater plant like we do our vehicles, but we do not.
Okay.
We are still in a very reactive mode out there, so not a lot of
You don't expect
proactive.
anything in the near future?
No, we have no indications. All of our oil samples come back with no fragments in it, so we don't see any issues.
Kevin, was this part of your CIP?
Yes.
So it's budgeted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, anybody else, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, an ordinance number, please?
Ordinance number 3166, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing the purchase of 2 Flender OxyStream aerators from West Tech Engineering, Inc., and the associated technical services for the installation of aerators at the city's water reclamation facility, authorizing expenditure of public funds in amount not to exceed $205,005, and authorizing the execution of a contract with West Tech Engineering, Inc.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3166 as presented.
Second.
Could I make one real quick clarification? The contingency amount there may be opportunity for us to have to rent a crane. That would not be through this company, so we're only asking for additional spending authority of 34,168. Part of that might be with West Tech, but part of it may be to use it for another company. As long as it's under 25,000, we won't have to come back to you for approval, but we just wanted that spending authority. Just wanted to make that clear.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please, on number 3167?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
3166, sorry.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Quartson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is I6, ordinance, considering ordinance number 3167.
Staff recommends that the mayor and city council award a contract for maintenance and repair services to each of the selected firms listed on Exhibit A in the RCA to provide maintenance and repair services on an as-needed on-call basis. Council may recall that we've brought one maintenance and repair on-call list to council, but when we looked at the list, we thought we were underserved in several areas, so we reached back out to our contractor community to ensure that this second go-around, we got some people who actually missed our first bid process to actually have an opportunity to bid. So we're adding these firms to that list. So this is just a second go-around. It'll have the same contract period, and then next year we'll go back out to bid as we do annually. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Powell?
Just the part that the expenditure of public funds to any one contractor shall not exceed a maximum of $25,000 for any single project. You can sign off on that, and then a maximum of $100,000 in aggregate fees through fiscal year 2020 is the total amount they could have. So I think it's constructed well.
And that is an increase from our previous programs. We increased it from a maximum of $50,000 a year to $100,000 a year.
Yep.
Mayor. Kevin, how many of the 16 are local? Or
Quite a few.
I don't have an answer to that question
At
right
least
now.
3 or 4.
There's a few on there.
Yeah.
I saw.
okay.
Capital R,
Ooh, good.
Cooper Painting,
Well, I knew some of them I wouldn't.
some I don't recognize.
Okay.
Yeah, SoCal, they're local.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's at least 4 or 5 on there, which is good. Anybody else have any questions?
Well, just a comment, I am glad that you went out and sent it out again. Because maybe for whatever reason, people didn't see it the first time, so I am happy to see that, especially when there's a lot of local people, local businesses on here, so.
Yeah, and to be real honest, there were some delays on our part. Our staff created some delays in the process. Contractors were ready to submit, and then we had this delay, and then when we finally rolled it out, they weren't looking, and that just happens. But we didn't want to find ourselves being underserved in some of these areas, because otherwise we just don't have the people that can react to code enforcement, some of their lean and clean programs and things like that.
Yeah.
We don't want to be underserved in those areas.
Good.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, then I'll entertain an ordinance.
Ordinance number 3167, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving the terms and conditions of 16 agreements with various companies for the purpose of public works on-call maintenance and repair services for fiscal year 1920, authorizing expenditures of public funds and authorizing execution of 16 agreements.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3167 as presented.
Second?
See, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Quartson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, item I7, consider resolution number 5208. To you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's recommended that the Mayor and City Council authorize the City Manager to execute a contract with the J. Vincent Group for document preparation for submission of a Certificate of Necessity, CON, application to the Arizona Department of Health Services for an ALS and BLS CON for the City of Casa Grande. Back in late 2017, or 2017, excuse me, City Council directed staff to conduct an ambulance feasibility study back through the J. Vincent Group. This was the first step in determining whether or not to apply for a CON. That feasibility study was presented to our City Council in the study session in June of 2018. Study analyzed all the costs that would be incurred as a result of the city providing ambulance service in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles. That included all incremental direct costs that would be created by adding these services, as well as the allocation of existing indirect costs. The next step is to prepare a CON application and supporting documents as required by the Arizona Department of Health Services, preparation of ambulance costs and recovery report, pro forma financial information, provide methodology as required by the Arizona Department of Health Services during the administrative and substantive review process. This process will take approximately 6 months to complete and file with the Arizona Department of Health Services. The J. Vincent Group would be our consultants for the CON application. This project does address one of our focus areas in the city's strategic plan, quality of life. This CON allows our residents to receive a higher level of care through strategically located and dedicated paramedic ambulances in the city of Casa Grande. Our paramedics will provide continuity of patient care from the home to the hospital. And as I mentioned in our 2 study sessions that we've had regarding this topic, that this allows the city to maintain control of its destiny by having that CON. It also provides a revenue stream for personnel to operate in the rescue ambulances. It provides 4 dedicated ambulances is what's recommended for our community. It increases EMS system reliability. We can have a single unit response on a BLS call. And what that does is it keeps our 4-person ALS engine available for critical life-saving threatening calls such as cardiac arrest, difficulty breathing, stroke, broken hips, legs, trauma patients involved in motor vehicle accidents, blunt injuries, stabbings, shootings, machinery accidents, allergic reactions, etc. It also will help in reducing down response times. It would increase our customer service. There is reduction in the perception of seeing an engine on every call because the ambulance would be able to handle the BLS by themselves, and it would increase the life expectancy of our engine companies. During fiscal year 2019-20, the city budgeted $30,000 for the CON proposal to file a complete CON application along with all the supportive documents to the Arizona Department of Health Services. This amount is budgeted in the fire administration line in one of our line item budgets. There would be a 50% of the fee will be invoiced upon the contract signing, and the remaining will be invoiced upon the delivery of the final draft of application. Once the CON packet is completed and submitted, it will be reviewed. A notice of hearing will be issued, and the actual hearing can take place from 12 to 18 months, and the administrative law justice issues a decision. The final step is a post-decision by Arizona Department of Health Services, and during this hearing process, an attorney will be representing us and utilizing our consultants depending upon the length of the process. And there could be legal fees that could be seen if it is contested of a few $100,000. What I'd like to mention is that AMR has indicated through verbal willingness to support the application with specific models, and that model is what we've been trying to look at with the public-private model that we started with our MOU back a few years ago. And so that we're waiting for further discussion there. But either way, we still need to apply for a CON and move forward, whether we have the public-private partnership or we're going for our own CON. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Just to remind everybody that we have talked about this a lot, so this is not the first time we've seen this. So, Matt, question?
There's been a couple things come up in the community about private business and free market. And I'll remind you, there's not a free market right now. There's one company that can provide ambulance service to the city of Casa Grande, so we're not providing a free market to everyone. And this is a great example of you, Chief, working with the public-private partnership to try to get this done, and we can control what we want to do in the future. And we had an agreement worked out with Southwest Ambulance, and then when they got bought out, they didn't go along with that agreement that we liked as a city. So we're going to this point, and I'm really a fan, which we'll talk about more, of the BLS, of running our units so that we don't have to run our engines all the time to go out to medical calls. So I want to commend you on doing this, and I think it's a great step forward for our citizens and the services that we can provide to make sure that we keep our citizens safe and the services they need, because it's about services to the citizens, you know, and we need to have ambulances here in order to make sure that everyone, because when it's my family or your family or anyone's family in town, you want to have that service as soon as possible. So we want to make sure we can provide that.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Powell?
I just, the woman in the white shirt over there convinced me at our last meeting that this is important and this is something we need to do. And Chief, I know who you are. I just was.
The other white shirt.
There's another one?
Both of them.
There's two here.
No, the guy out there in the white shirt. The two white shirts up here, they get to talk. You convinced me, and the firemen have convinced me that this is something we have to do for safety, and truthfully, I think economically it'll turn out pretty well. In the end, not having to replace equipment as nearly as often as we have before. The cost of fire engines are pretty expensive, so, and the gas savings on them. There's a huge amount of economic savings on what we're doing with this. So I want to thank you for your presentation and let you know it worked.
Bob?
Yeah, when I first showed up on council, I think one of the first meetings was a study session with the consultant or something, and I had a ton of questions about this. It's a long road to go down. There's lots of moving parts, and I want to compliment the two chiefs, the firefighters, and Mr. Raines for answering all the questions. I know there was a lot of them, and I had a lot of concerns. But I'm convinced this is the best way to go for the fire department, for our city government, and as we've said, most importantly, for the citizens of our community. I think you guys have done a real good job in researching this, doing all the due diligence, and as I said, I'm fully convinced this is the way to go. Thank you.
Just quickly too, is that it was several years ago, we came, it was pointed out that we were not covered, our residents were not covered by ambulance service because the folks servicing us also service the entire county. And they convinced me that they had the ability to rectify that there would not be times where a city of our size would not have ambulance service. This way, we're going to have a dedicated service, somebody that's dedicated to our residents. There will always be there, and then there's that continuity of care, that the idea that when somebody shows up and they're caring for you and you're cared for all the way through. And I just think that this is the best thing. It's not to compete with the private business. I don't think we're competing. I believe we gave everybody a good chance and an opportunity, and this is the best thing that we could do for our city.
Lisa?
And I'm going to agree, this isn't something that just came up even in the last 2 years. I think since I've been on city council since 2011, there's been this discussion. And Chief Miller, you've been, and you know, we did, like you said, Councilmember Courtson, give some of these companies a chance to kind of work through some of the issues that we were facing, and there weren't changes. So you guys have been on top of it and have advised us of some of the concerns that are out there. And then when we had the consultant come in and do the research and present the facts to move forward, it was something that we were really interested in and wanted to make sure we were doing the best thing for the community. And it was a very detailed report. I think they did a great job, and I'm really looking forward to moving forward on it. I think, you're right, if we choose to do a public-private partnership, that's great, but if we do something with just the city, we know it's going to provide the best service for our community. So I just really appreciate everything you guys have done, and the firemen that are here and women, for all of their, support and education. I know sometimes when I run into people, they'll kind of educate me on what's going on. So, all of that is really good for us to know. So I really appreciate all the time on this and the persistence, Chief. I know you've been on this for a long time, so thank you.
And we can all sit here and talk about this all night long, but one of the things I just want to mention, the private business has come up numerous times lately on social media. And I just, I understand what some of the comments are, but the bottom line is that our community deserves to be safe, and we have the staff to make that happen. And I think that, that we need to just move forward.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then I'll consider an ordinance number, please, Gloria. A resolution, I'm sorry. Yep.
Resolution number 5208, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving the proposal for professional services from the James Vincent Group, LLC, for the submission of a certificate of necessity application to the Arizona Department of Health Services, authorizing expenditure of public funds in amount not to exceed $30,000 and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5208 is presented, and I was reluctant for the longest time to go along with this, but that's why I wanted to jump in and present it. So.
Okay.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, moving on to 8, which is consider ordinance number 3168. Chief?
Mayor and council, thank you. It is recommended that the mayor and council accept a proposal from Motorola Solutions Incorporated for the purchase of VHF infrastructure and Pinal County add-on infrastructure equipment, including microwave subscribers and implementation services, authorizing the expenditure of public funds in amount not to exceed $2,502,193, and authorizing an execution of a contract with or purchase order to Motorola Solutions Incorporated, and authorizing the finance director to transfer budget authority to fund the acquisition. This project is made possible through the city's capital replacement program for fiscal 2019-20. We did present 4 different projects to you for communications. This contract we're looking at is through the Pinal County contract number 150520. And the 4 smaller communications projects rolled into one master project. We had 2 that were from the Public Safety Communications Division. We had 1 that's from the Police Department, and we had 1 that's from the Fire Department. The Police Department, its first phase on their radio replacement. For the Fire Department, it was our 4th phase of that replacement. By combining these smaller projects into a master project allows us to have a more significant buying power with our city funds. This will allow the city to increase the number of portable radios purchased for the police department from 25 to 50, using the same amount of money that was in their budget by rolling all of these projects into one group. This one-time project combination will provide much more equipment than expected for this fiscal year, which will not only allow for the police department to transition at a faster rate, moreover, it significantly buys down radio equipment that would be needed in years 3 and 4 for the police department. Chief Madden, who is sitting next to me here, is one of our battalion chiefs, and this was his concept and his approach to putting everything together in a master plan in order to have more buying power and be able to see our dollar expend more. And what I like to do is turn over to him. He put a lot of the RCA together because it can get very complicated in language for the communications, and Kevin tried to down it to all of us that can understand it in layman's terms. And Kevin's our subject matter expert, so I will turn it over back in a little bit.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor McFarland, council members, just to kind of put things into context, prior to the city hiring a communications manager back in 2007, 2008, I shared, and council member Huddleston probably recalls, I shared the responsibility with Lieutenant Horn of our communications infrastructure at that time. So that's why this logically kind of fell back to me with the recent retirement of our communications manager who had some subject matter expertise, but since that expertise is somewhat gone. So obviously that came back to me. Obviously with I do have a long history of law enforcement background and using an 800 megahertz radio system in the Pima County area, as well as my prior employer. Many years ago, I was in charge of the communications infrastructure there. So that kind of puts things into context as to why I got picked. Just to put things in perspective, as you know, last fiscal year, we came, the chief and that time communications manager, Reese, came to you with a radio console project. And the radio consoles specifically control all our radio assets. They're what the dispatcher has to use to communicate with all the boots in the ground. So that project was put into play last fiscal year. With that, we had some available funding to update our VHF legacy system, as we call it. Our VHF, very high frequency radio system, is kind of what we call siloed. It's not what everybody in the state of Arizona is using, and it does not work well or is not really interoperable with other communication systems. Regardless, we still need to maintain that system for now. So we did move forward with some plans to refresh that system so it's going to work better for us within the city limits. In addition to that, we looked at the Pinal County 800 megahertz system. Pinal County Sheriff's Department got a radio system online about 2 or 3 years ago. That system works within all of Pinal County. So by us joining this system, not only does it give us interoperability with the Pinal County Sheriff's Department, it now gives us a radio system that allows us to travel outside the city limits. The fire department doesn't necessarily do that greatly. We usually typically are on other radio systems, but it is very critical for the police department. If their detectives are on follow-up in Coolidge or Santan, if their detention officers are transporting to Florence, they have to have a radio system that not only works in the vehicle, but also a portable radio. We need to make sure that they're protected out there. By going with this 800 megahertz system, we're joining a system that gives us much greater global reach than just within the city limits. As stated, obviously the fire department is in its final phase of radios. When we get this purchase, we will be complete and we will have all the radios necessary to join the 800 megahertz system. The police department, unfortunately, is somewhat further behind. However, we were very lucky in the fact that we were able to combine all 4 of these projects, negotiate with Motorola, and we found some out-of-the-box solutions. That being, obviously, we're now going to get 25 more portable radios for the police department and an additional 19 for the fire department. That's going to move the police department further down the road. In addition, there are some radios that the police department have. They have 25 vehicle radios that we can flash upgrade, and those radios, they're no longer supported after 2023. However, the police vehicles that are currently in service, those vehicles will retire before that time period. So we're able to flash those at a much lower price and get greater bang for our buck. So we're really being able to move the police department further down the road and really provide necessary equipment that we need to be safe when we're operating in the city. One of the benefits, obviously, the radios have a 5-year damage and warranty, so we won't have to mess with them for 5 years, any problems. I can honestly tell you from the law enforcement perspective, I've seen them go off the roofs of patrol vehicles and get run over. And sadly, in the fire department, I've at least seen either through fire damage or vehicle damage, I've seen them run over. So this will protect us in the fact that it will get replaced if they're damaged. Probably the final aspect of it, just like the chief touched on, focus plan. Obviously, when we look at quality of life for the citizens, an enhanced communication system ensures city employees have the necessary information to effectively serve the community and provide for citizens' quality of life. From a safety perspective, provide the police, fire, and public works department with effective communications in order to provide prompt service to our residents. And when we look at our value statement, through combining all 4 projects into one and negotiating with the vendor, additional equipment can be purchased this year, lessening the burden over the following fiscal years, freeing up CIP money for other city projects.
So from a fiscal impact, to follow up on this, the total Motorola proposals, $2,502,193, and it's broken down. It's listed in your RCA there and shows the breakdown. The combined budget for the 4 projects is $2,675,000. The combined budget is comprised of $65,000 from Fire Project 17111, $418,000 from Police Project 20044, $717,000 from Public Safety Communications Center Project 2036, 20036, and $1.475 million for the Public Safety Communications Center Project 20037. The communications projects that we are doing is we're actually setting up with the repeater sites that we have. We have at the police department downtown. We have over at Abbott Labs. We're looking at K-Love is adding, and then at Carmanet Park we have a tower there that we'll be looking to replace the tower there from a 90-foot to a 120. We've been going through all the processes necessary there. That saves us money because there is a complete building that's been established at the base of that. There used to be an Altel phone tower that's been discontinued. So we'll be able to utilize that, put the equipment in the room as necessary, do a generator there, a 6-foot fence around it, and put 2 new AC units on it, and it saves the city quite a bit of money by us repurposing that and utilizing that. What that tower does is it mainly helps with building penetration in the area here that we have issues with, and I know it's more important for the police department on the building penetration because they're carrying their portables down on their sides and your antenna only has a certain directional and be able to be picked up, and they have a lapel mic. So this is going to truly enhance. It also brings the tower into play for the 800 megahertz system with the county that allows us to put the antenna on there and be able to provide that in the additional talk channels for the system, so we're not coming in taking away from their system, but we're actually bringing it up to the same level and enhancing it with our talk capabilities. The remainder of the $172,807 from the budget will be used for the 50K generator, the AC units, the fencing, as I mentioned, and the rental for the K-Love for the VHF system to be on top. This is broken down, and I need to mention also before I get into that I know this is on a short timeline that we brought with the 4 individuals packages that we presented at the CIP, but the reason we were doing this is we're able to have that buying power And part of that buying power, as you see in there, is a reduction of $292,476.35. And that's with the understanding that our proposal would be approved and with Motorola by December 15th in order to make everything happen and to get that pricing. So that's why we're coming to you with all the projects in a master plan. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. We have Kevin here, and then we do have our Motorola representative out in the audience if it gets too technical for us.
Chief, just one question that I've got. Under subscribers, is that like a access fee, or what is the $600 and some dollars?
Mayor McFarland, the term subscribers is basically just means a mobile or a portable radio.
Okay, so it's an actual piece of equipment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that based on the terminology used.
I have a statement and then a question. Donna and I both sat on the CIP process, and I made this statement in CIP. In public safety, this is, to me, my opinion, the most biggest issue among public safety. If you don't have quality, reliable, and redundant communication systems, you're in deep trouble. You have to be able to communicate from dispatch to the scene, from unit to unit. Extremely important. And it does seem like a lot of money, and this is, you know, you would almost think you could buy a whole new system for this, and it's, but it is expensive technology, but extremely important. I just can't emphasize that enough. My question is that at one time we seem to be on a track of converting from VHS to 800 megahertz, and I think I've been hearing all along that our intention now is to maintain both systems. They're to be dual band, and I don't know if we ever expect to phase out VHF, but I get the impression that it still has advantages, and I was wondering if you could speak to that just a moment.
Would you like to go for that?
Yeah. Mayor McFarland, Councilmember Huddleston. We need to maintain the VHF system on it. We talked in length with Pinal County. They're not ready to bring on their public works to the 800 system. I really foresee in 5 to 10 years, and obviously with our city manager discussing with theirs, that's probably the future for bringing us into one system. But the fire department has the needs for the VHF system in what we call hazard zones, specifically structure fires. What we find is that digital radios, when we key up, they take our analog voice, digitize it, send it through the radio, and then it's deciphered on the other end. What happens is with the fire and smoke products inside of structures, that ionization tends to disrupt the packets, the digital packets that go up, and therefore it doesn't necessarily give guaranteed clear communications. So the fire department will have a need to maintain some VHF assets for those particular operations. Public Works, what we foresee is an enhancement for Public Works. Right now they're on what we call a simplex channel. If you're 5 miles apart, you can't hear one another. If we give them the police department's channel, when we move the police department over to the 800 system, now the Public Works has a much greater capacity and communications network available to them where they can talk anywhere in the city, whether it be a portable or vehicle radio, and they'll be able to hear each other clearly. And what I didn't probably cover well, the difference between an 800 system and a VHF system, we call it a trunk system. It's much like your cell phone. There's only so many frequencies that you can license, but cell phones are based on probability. Not all of us are going to talk on the phone here right at once. Yeah. You may call or somebody may call, but it's based on channel assigning. So what it allows us to do is, with the limited amount of frequencies, we can have much greater talk groups. So like where the fire department has a dispatch channel, a fire ground channel, and one spare channel, that means we can only have 3 conversations. But in a pooled network, you can have up to 10 different talk groups based on probability that all 10 are not going to talk at the same time. So it basically allows you much greater capability without having to invest in infrastructure.
Can I follow up on that?
Sure.
I just wanted to express my support for maintaining redundant systems. I think there's some value in even long-term maintaining the VHF, just to have a backup process. I mean, we all count on the reliability, and I think the 800 system is one of the most reliable that we've seen in a long time. But I think it's always a good idea to have an option B if necessary. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth.
And then just to add on to redundant benefit of being on the Pinal County system, our console actually hooks to their server with that capability that now allows us to put all of our channels and resources on their dispatch center in Pinal County, at their Pinal County Sheriff's Dispatch Center. Same with ours. If for some reason we had a serious failure at our communication center, we could go over there and operate out of there, and vice versa. So it does provide that interoperability, that redundancy, giving us a greater safety network.
Matt?
Kevin, you're really good at throwing it back to the chief when it came to the dollar amount that we were spending, so I admire that part of your presentation. But I appreciate you, because I think we've probably been talking about this at the council meetings in different group meetings for 5 years. I mean, Mike Brazier brought it to me years ago, and it was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I'm glad to see that we're finally going to this so that we have reliable communications, and everything happens in a lot bigger area these days, so, and our city's getting bigger too, so we need that interoperability. And so I want people to know that we don't take this amount of money lightly by any means, but we have been talking about it for years and planning for it for years, and I'm glad that we're finally getting to the point where we can make it work for everybody. So thank you.
Okay.
I think back on what Bob said, we sat through, the CIP, and you provided us with a lot of information, but you made it in a way that, I'm not at the same level that Bob is, but I want you to know that I appreciate the fact that you educated us in a way that, we could understand. From a perspective of the community, the money is heavy, it is big. And I understand that, and I have had people that have come and have had issues with the amount of money that we're talking about. And the way that I tried to explain it to the community is, think about what we have done in the last 3 years with our cell phones and how much they have changed. And if you multiply that by all the different things that this unit will do for us and the safety of the community, I think we've got to move forward, and it is a lot of money. And we may have to, at some point, look at other avenues to save money. But for now, there are lives that are at stake with this, not just from the community perspective, but our staff. And we have to do what we can for that. So for the education purposes, thank you.
Lisa?
Well, and you're right, it is a large sum of money, but I do appreciate you coming with the 4 projects in one. Because yes, we may have one this month, and in a couple months another project, a couple of months. So if we're able to save almost $300,000 by putting these all together and moving into a direction we're going to need to anyways. So I was kind of happy to see that everything was put together, and there was communication with the police department, fire, and we're moving to in the direction that we need to. So.
Anyone else? Mr. Powell?
I'd just like to say that when you have 2 fire chiefs that are all saying the same thing, that's pretty good, and you guys are hired. We trust you. And so when you make recommendations and give us information, we want to absorb it, and we want to do what we can to make sure that you have what you need when you're doing the job that you have. It's dangerous enough to start with. So I'm buying into your expertise. So, and you've got a good lobbyist right here on the end of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing no other comments or questions, then I'll call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I would like to note that we did not have a graphical in the ordinance number, and it should be 3168.
So noted.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting
Mayor McFarland, I would like to move that we approve ordinance number 3168 as presented.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, moving to item number I-9, consider resolution number 5206. Chief?
Mayor, council members, thank you. It is recommended and City Council adopt a resolution accepting the 2019 Homeland Security Grant and sign the subgrantee agreement 190302-01 with the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. The grant of $48,000 will be used to purchase public safety communications equipment for Casa Grande radio connectivity to the Pinal County Regional Radio System. This grant request was submitted back in March 2019 in order to purchase a public safety communications equipment for the Casa Grande radio connectivity to Pinal County. The equipment approved for purchase was 2 backhaul battery systems and 2 rack and accessories for microwave. There is no match funding required for this grant. The original grant was for $134,000 and the awarded amount of $48,000 went through the review process of the Arizona Department of Homeland Security Eastern Regional Advisory Committee before the final decision was made by the Director's Office. This radio connectivity equipment is brand new and not replacing existing equipment. Fiscal impact, there is no match grant. There is not a fiscal investment impact to the city at this time. After the initial warranty is up, the Public Safety Communications Center would take care of any maintenance if needed. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't see any up here. So can I get a resolution number then, please, Gloria?
Resolution number 5206, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Arizona Department of Homeland Security, authorizing the city manager to accept grant funds from the Arizona Department of Homeland Security for the City of Casa Grande, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with the Arizona Department of Homeland Security on behalf of the 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program to purchase public safety communication equipment for CG radio connectivity to the Pinal County Regional System, authorizing the City Finance Director to accept and disperse funds as necessary, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number, which one is it again?
Resolution.
5206 is presented.
Second?
Lost count there.
Resolution 5206, right?
Resolution, sorry.
It's okay. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, I-10, consider ordinance number 3165. Back to you, Chief.
Mayor and council, thank you. It is recommended that the mayor and council adopt an ordinance accepting the 2018 for adequate fire and emergency response, better known as the SAFER grant program from the Department of Homeland Security, and authorize the 10 firefighter positions. The grant of $1,715,986 will be used to cover payroll for the 10 firefighters over the next 3 years. This grant request was submitted back in early 2018 for the addition of 10 firefighters for the fire department. These 10 firefighters will be used as follows: 6 firefighters to cover the 2-person low acuity unit, 3 firefighters to cover 1 rover position for the personnel to utilize their earned benefits, PTO, vacation sick, family sick, bereavement, etc. And the last firefighter position for the open position of firefighter as a result of an EMS BC through internal promotions, and then that firefighter would fill from the bottom. This grant was submitted in order to assist in acquiring much-needed resources for the fire department at a time when we need to add resources to cover the request for services from our citizens, and at the same time bring some financial relief to the city in order to bring on these valuable assets aboard. This grant is phased in over a 3-year period of time in which DHS will provide $1,715,986. This grant will be used to offset the cost of our 10 firefighters implemented over this budget cycle and the next couple of budget cycles. 6 of these firefighter positions will join the Mesa Fire Academy starting in February 2020, with the remaining 4 firefighters either joining the Northwest Fire District or the Mesa in June or July. This was a competitive process, and we are only one of 6 fire departments in Arizona so far who've been awarded a SAFER grant. As mentioned above, this was submitted in order to assist in acquiring the much needed resources for the department at a time that we really need it. The breakdown of this is the federal government is the amount I've just mentioned, the $1,715,986 over the 3 years, and the city's portion after the 3 years is $1,066,694. So this total project we're bringing to you is $2,782,680. Fiscal year 20, which we're currently in, by the time we look at getting into the academy, we'll be going halfway through our current fiscal year. So what we're looking at is the funding for fiscal year 20 would be through the city council contingency for January through June for $115,945. In fiscal year 21, we will utilize operational revenue from our sales tax and pay for the personnel through that. In fiscal year 22, we will utilize the revenues from the ambulance billing. After the 3rd year, we anticipate that we'll be operating an ambulance operation that will actually cover the cost of the 10 personnel. I would like to mention that this was submitted by Battalion Chief Tony LaFalce, who put this program together, and then reviewed by Assistant Chief Keene for the submittal of this grant. I'd be happy to answer any question that you may have.
Just a statement. I think I mentioned in the study session on this item that I had been through this type of grant in the police department, and I want to emphasize what a gift it is. It's designed to help us keep up with growth that we're in the midst of and that we project into the future. And I also want to emphasize that it is competitive. It is highly competitive. And although I haven't read the grant application, I suspect you guys did an outstanding job on it. So thank you for that.
I was a little concerned about maintaining the fund all years, but you guys did a great job. I talked to Manager Raines this morning about it as well, and it's needed to keep up with our growth. So I'm glad you had it all planned out, and seems like a good idea. And again, just to piggyback what Councilmember Huddleston said is, you know, it's a good competitive thing, and it's a way to get us going to move us up to that next level.
Just similar. Just to piggyback, again, this has, you know, been a discussion as far as the need to have more firefighters and the low acuity. I mean, we tested it, and we've been discussing it in every budget session to see how we can implement it, and we couldn't come up with the funding. So I was so excited when during the study session when you informed us that you received that grant. So, you know, I'm excited that we're going to be able to move forward with that. You know, provide the rovers that, of course, that you've needed. And again, like Councilmember Herman said, of course, I was a little concerned about after the 3 years, but with, you know, the way we're going with the CON and some of the revenues that are going to come in, I'm really hoping and feeling pretty confident that that'll cover that. So I'm excited about it. Look forward to that. So good job.
Chief, I just have a question. I'm in support of it, so don't take my question wrong. So explain on the grant, timing that we have to use the money by, is there a date? You know, I mean, usually when you get grants, there's certain date timeframes you need to.
Yes, sir.
So in order to use the money.
Yes, there is a time frame, and in fact, we had to ask for an extension because they have a short window to accept the grant. So we requested an extension, which they granted us till the first of the month in order to respond back with the appropriate approval. And yes, we do have within, I believe it's within 120 days, if I remember right, we need to be moving forward as far as getting people lined up and starting to get that first academy going, and then right after that, next one.
Okay, so as long as we're moving and we get these guys and gals into the academy, then we're okay in terms of the grant money?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Right,
And we've been fortunate, many years ago, we received two SAFER grants back in the early 2000s. One was for 3 and one was for 6. And we've went through the process and very familiar with it.
Okay, so, and then my next question is, if we don't have a CON, they're operating the low acuity team, or are we gonna operate it anyway?
The low acuity, as we were presenting in the study session, is your intermediate step.
Okay.
That would help us bring relief to the engine companies because of the increase in the call load we've had over the years.
So we can still.
And then that would
we
merge
can
into an
operate that.
ambulance
Okay,
if.
so we can operate that without a CON?
Yes, we can.
All right, that was my main
Okay.
question. Mr. Powell?
I'd just like to compliment our Kevin is really good at it, and you guys for checking funding and getting access to funding. You know, we spent a lot of money tonight, but when they give you money back, that really softens it, and it's gonna make us stronger, having enough money to get these guys schooled and onto a fire truck. And so I compliment you for tracking down that funding and helping save us money.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, then Gloria, take an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 3165, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the 2018 Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response SAFER Grant Program, authorizing the city manager to accept grant funds from the 2018 Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response SAFE Grant Program to fund 10 firefighter positions, authorizing the city manager to execute a grant agreement with the grant programs decorative for the Federal Emergency Management Agency on behalf of the Department of Homeland Security, authorizing the city finance director to accept and disperse funds as necessary, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3165 as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McBride.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, that concludes most of our meeting tonight. I do want to recognize one person here who's not new to the city, but new to the city, and that is Mr. Scott Barber. Scott, would you stand up? Scott is our new HR director. Welcome aboard.
Good to have you.
Just say a few words. It's my pleasure to join the executive leadership team here at the city. Started last Monday, and it was my pleasure and my privilege to serve the town of Florence for the last 7 years as HR director, but a special treat to come and serve the citizens of the community that I've been pleased and proud to call my own for the last 35 years. So thank you very much for the welcome.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so the last item on the agenda actually is our reports, item N. So Lisa, do you want to start?
Sure. Well, first of all, I don't know who attended the Taste of Casa Grande, but I wanted to compliment Against Abuse and all the volunteers. It was a great turnout, great food, great, company, and I think they did a great job there. But the second thing is, I know in our strategic plan, we have education in the plan, and I'm sure you all are finding that there's so many events or meetings that are coming up, and so I just think that it's so appropriate that we are focusing on this, because we're now seeing a little bit more of a partnership with some of the educational institutions. I know we've always had it, but as far as for the council, just this week we have the Casa Grande Union High School District is having a workforce development luncheon. That's on, I think, next week. And then CAC is having a business and education summit. And then the elementary school district is having a state of the district, which is tomorrow evening. So, I think it's just so appropriate that we have this in our plan. And so I just really appreciate all these guys keeping us involved. Larry, making sure that you're keeping it on our radar, because it's such a critical piece moving forward with workforce development, education. So I know we have a lot going forward with that. And then the Veterans Day Parade is coming up, just in honor of all those veterans. I hope everyone comes out and supports our veterans in the community. That's November 1st, I think?
Second.
Saturday.
Same as Adoption Day.
Yep, so that's coming up. That's it for me.
Mary?
On that same, on workforce development and that, so there's a lot of, you'll see that everybody bemoans the idea that we don't have VOTEC anymore, and really good news, we do have VOTEC. They just call it something different. It's called CTE, which is Career and Technical Education. And so I was asked to serve on the evaluation committee for the high school district, and for that, and to do it for the engineering department. But other departments under the CTE that's replaced VOTEC curriculum includes a much wider scope of training, such as construction technology, early childhood development, robotics, bioscience, and engineering. It was pointed out that 93% of students who participate in CTE in the last 2 years of high school graduate and find jobs with higher wages. So VOTEC is alive and well. It's just called something different. It is taken a different turn. It's not totally what it was when I was in high school and that, and it's a much broader scope and gives students a lot more ability to pick careers. It could be a 2-year training. It could be an 18-month certificate training, or it could be a 4-year training. So our district is doing a good job. I want to dovetail a little bit on what Lisa said. It's amazing how our county and our different groups are coming together and taking a look at education, and that I'll be attending the elementary school tomorrow night, the state of the elementary school. As these things come up and as we see them scheduled, I think it's important that our residents, not just elected officials and people serving our community, that our residents attend, know what these are, with the education. And what we see is we need to get the parents on board. The students, they're not real sure what you need to educate the parents and say, here's what's out there, here's what's available. Start encouraging your 6th grader, 7th grader to start taking some of these STEM classes, and that's the way we're going to improve our workforce.
Donna?
Just a couple quick things. The Neon Park sign, they did the lighting of the Ralph's Cafe sign until they gave us a history of it. So that, we had a really nice gathering down there. We had the grand opening of the mall this weekend. The mayor and I were there, and then the Taste of Casa Grande. Pinal County Town Hall is this Thursday, and I'm proud to say that we have probably about 35 young people from across the county that's going to be there, and probably 75% of them are from the city of Casa Grande. So I'm really excited about that, and proud to co-sponsor that. The one thing I did want to mention is that we've heard a lot about Carmen Nat Park in the last last couple weeks. And we've had some issues around that with, people complaining about kids being down there and teenagers being in the play area. And I just, want to say hats off to the community services and to Larry's office, because I know that you guys are getting it from everywhere. And it's just like at the community center, when we opened it up, there were some niches we had to work out. But I appreciate the fact that you listen to us when we call. And, we've all received some of those calls. I encourage you to go down and, I know, Lisa, you mentioned you're walking down there a lot. I've been down there numerous times. I went up and talked to families, and they're very appreciative. So for every complaint we get, there are probably 100 good things that are happening that we don't hear about. So I want to make sure your staff understand that. So, and that's it.
I had opportunity 2 weeks ago to attend the state legislature committee on water resources that was held here in the council chambers. I am still getting an education in water resources. Thank you, Mr. Powell, for taking the lead on that, because it is a complicated topic, but I'm glad to be learning about it. Also had the opportunity to attend a forum on opportunity zones in Florence, along with the mayor was there, and thank you, Richard Wilkie, in the back, for presenting the city's position on opportunity zones. We are blessed here in Casa Grande. We have some very fine properties that are subject to that benefit, and there were a lot of people in the room that represented a lot of investors and a lot of businesses that are working in that realm, trying to get projects off the ground. So that was wonderful. That's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad Brett's not here so I can do this, but just like to say that we are having the Youth Commission Fall Day of Shredding, as someone mentioned earlier, and that's on the 2nd, and we're working with the community, with the Kevin's department, which is not community service, Public Works Department, to do the e-cycling there as well, so you can bring computers, TVs. The kids love it when you bring cordless telephones, because they've never had them in their life, or like tape recorders, Walkman. They get a kick out of that. Answering machines we get a lot of. But you can bring all that stuff there, safely dispose of it for free. And if you'd like to make a donation to the Youth Commission, they would be very happy to accept that. And it's going to be at Pinal County Federal Credit Union. No, it's going to be at First American Credit Union on Pinal Avenue. Sorry, messed it up. 1001 North Pinal Avenue, First American Credit Union. And then after that, you can go to Ride for the Warrior in the park. After the parade, there's a lot going on that day, but you can do it all, because Casa Grande still has that small hometown feel, so you can do all the events that day. And that'll be from 9 to 12, the shredding. There was a neat letter to the editor a while back in the paper, and I forgot to mention it, but a lady stayed here. She had some work here. She's from Washington, D.C., and the project was here. Instead, a lot of people stayed in Chandler that were working on the project, but she stayed here and complimented the newspaper, complimented the restaurants, Eva's, Badillon's, the sign park, Cookie Jar, everything downtown. And she said they really missed out on not staying here in Casa Grande, because there is a lot going on. So it was just neat to read that outsider's perspective and say, hey, we take it for granted, but it really is a neat little town, which we all know. And I just want to say for the record that I've been advocating for a splash pad for like 10 years, and it finally got, and it is one of the most used things, and it's wonderful, and I drive by all the time and look at it. And so thank you for finally getting that done, and I can't wait for our next one that we're going to put in, which Steve already promised me tonight, that we're getting another one, right? You said that, right? Yep. Yeah. And what's that? Yes, it's not going to take another 10 years either. And the chamber showcase is Wednesday at the Property Conference Center. And this year it is free of charge for anyone to go to. We advocated for that on the board so that we could get more community members out and see. And if you want free toothbrushes, free light bulbs, free pens and pencils, and learn about businesses in town, that is the place to go. And there's great food as well. So at the property on Wednesday evening at 5:30, free of charge from the Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. Fowler?
Well, I've went to all three of we had the third one today over in Florence on the water situation. And at the end of the day, I can say with no doubt, we don't have enough water in Pinal County. And Pinal County, as I say, has been kind of like a stepchild to the other AMAs, the Tucson and the Phoenix AMA. And a guy from Florence was kind of holding their foot to the fire today on why is Phoenix treated this way and we're treated this way? And so he's going to make a trip. He's invited to go to the CAP headquarters and or the ADWR and talk with the director there. It was interesting. There was a lot of things mentioned. Bob, I'm really happy that you were here on this one, and I think you heard some things anyway that you probably hadn't heard before. But we are challenged, and most of the things that can make it better take time. So we could be Deadpool by 2026, which means the river doesn't run hardly. The water below the dams are so low that you can't pump it out, can't generate any electricity. It's really a serious issue. And the drought contingency plan basically was a short exercise in trying to kick the can down the road a little bit and get some extra time to do these things. But we had some people that were very knowledgeable that spoke, but there's still nobody seems to be coming up with any other good ideas about how to get a new source of water. And Bob got to hear me on the one we were at, but I
did too.
Oh, yes, you did. The mayor, you didn't make today though, did you?
No.
No. They started without you. No. Mayor had been there and Larry was at the first one, so information was good and ADWR director was kind of on the hot seat. And I don't think he had fun on any of the 3 days that it took place. But I also like that that the park is turning out so well. My granddaughter, I think, lives down there, and she really has a lot of fun. I think if Matt's going to get his own, he better get a big one. But no, that sprinkle thing. I mean, there's kids everywhere when you go by, and that's. I think she makes about 4 trips a week down there, or anytime she can. So that's such a good asset for our community. And I want to say thank you to the firemen for kind of going along with us and letting us make some decisions. And I think hopefully it turned out pleasing all of you tonight, the decision to have to go ahead. So we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and I'll ditto that too. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you everybody for being here tonight.
It's more fun when people
appreciate
are
it. Yeah, it's more fun with more people. So, just to kind of wrap up on my side, there's a couple housekeeping things. That the Veterans Day Parade, Gene Lehman is going to be driving fire engine truck number 1. So if anybody's interested in riding on with Gene, let Larry know. So he can save you a seat.
What time?
It's 9 or 10.
The parade starts at 10.
10. Yeah, be there like 9:30.
Yeah, they're at 9:45.
Yeah, 9:30, 9:45. And then also that the event that's this Thursday, the Pinal Town Hall Connecting Communities, and then the Pinal County's future, that we have an extra seat. So if anybody wants to attend, let Larry know, okay? So just a couple housekeeping things there. And then also this Thursday at 6 o'clock, here in the council chambers, Ms. Lieja will be conducting the election process and packet pickup. So anyone who's interested in running for the 3 council member seats and the mayor's seat, there will be a meeting at 6 o'clock that she'll kind of walk you through the process if you're so interested. Also, just an observation on my part, because I've been doing so many of them here in the last like 2 months. There are so many, like ribbon cuttings. It's insane. I do like 4 or 5 a week now. And I'm gonna start passing some off. So I expect a little help.
Donna, get ready.
I expect a little help from this group.
I tried.
About the Thirsty Donkey on Friday?
I did that one. I don't know.
You didn't pass that one off.
That was on the 11th, but yeah, Thirsty Donkey. The Wellness Center of Arizona, which is up on Rodeo, is a very, very cool place. If you haven't been there, it's in the same shopping center as Latte Vino. It's right next to the event center up there. And then the Promenade Mall, which somebody already mentioned, we did the grand reopening of the Promenade Mall, and so the owners and main folks were there. And then this Friday is Bubba's Barbecue, which is going to be opening up on North Treckle. So if you're interested in that, that's Friday. Yeah, it's right next to Safeway. Couple other things. I did attend 2 of the Pinal Water State legislative hearings. And the good thing that came out of that, not to reiterate what Mr. Powell has said, but the good thing that did come out of that is we did get the report, which is a report we've been waiting for 5 years. Basically, it's the groundwater model, and it says what water is used where and what the deficit is. I think there's solutions in that groundwater report, so I'm not quite as doom and gloom maybe as Mr. Powell on that. I do agree that we have an issue, but I think we can find a solution as well. So there are some holes in that report that I think we need to take a good hard look at. Let's see, what else? I think the first is Friday the 1st is the Chambers Golf Tournament. So if you're so inclined, please give the Chamber a call. They can use all the help that they can get on that regard. I did attend the Arizona Rural Transportation Summit last week, which was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then also the Pinal County Opportunity Zone meeting, which Bob went to. That was a good meeting. It was well managed. And then this week we've got a bunch of stuff going on. Careertopia is Wednesday morning at Union High School. The Careertopia for the high school, the juniors, was last week at Vista. Had like 400 kids. Expect about the same this week at Union. That's at 8 o'clock on the 23rd. So if anybody wants to poke your head in there, it's kind of fun to watch the juniors. It's a really good process that they're going through, I think. So Chamber Showcase this Wednesday, I already mentioned. Arizona Town Hall Future Leaders is also this at 4:30 on Thursday at the community center, and that's a bunch of young people that they're going to be talking with, so it should be interesting as well. I think that's about it. If that wasn't enough, don't forget to be counted. The complete census 2020. I'll probably mention that every council meeting from now until March, end of March. So you're going to get sick of hearing me say it, but it's extremely important. You being counted is worth $3,000 in shared revenue to the city of Casa Grande, and that goes direct to goods and services for the city and for our citizens. So it's imperative that everyone be counted.
I'll do it for half
And I
price.
can't overemphasize that. And I'm not offering any funds to do that. Okay. Any last comments, anyone? Staff? Larry?
Enjoy
Okay.
your vacation.
You going on vacation? Meeting adjourned.
Didn't you see it in red?